When was the last time you watched 1999's Brad Bird debut, The Iron Giant? Today, we revisit the town of Rockwell to answer the question, does this film still pack an emotional punch, or has it rusted with age? Then, will Seth stump us on trivia? Or will we prove we've got a little Superman in us too?
The Iron Giant only spoke a few amount of words. So, how many words in total did the Iron Giant speak?
And of course, how are we gonna rate it? Are you gonna take it home? Are you gonna watch it at Grandma's? Or are you gonna hide it in the attic? So grab your favorite snack, whether it's a scrap of metal, a slice of pie at Annie's Diner, or whatever Hogarth would have shared with a 50-foot robot, because you are who you choose to be. This is Movies at Grandma's House. Hello, please come in. There's some fresh cookies in the cookie jar. There's a pitcher of Kool-Aid on the counter. Have a seat and make yourself comfortable. Welcome to Movies at Grandma's House, where we love to revisit the movies from our childhood to answer the question, does it still hold up? And is it family friendly enough that even Grandma can enjoy? And I'm your host, Isaac. You know, this is why it's important that you properly chew your food.
And this is Seth. Welcome to the downtown Coolsville, Population S.
Oh, it's great to see you, Seth. And we have a special visitor, a guest joining us for this episode. We have with us John from All the Right Movies. So a big round of applause for our guest. How are you doing, John?
Very well. Thank you very much. How are you?
Absolutely great.
Good.
Great. Yeah, thanks for having me. Yeah, I'm from All the Right Movies. Looking forward to getting into The Iron Giant, a film I hadn't seen for a little while. So, yeah, you are who you choose to be, to round off my quote.
Very nice.
Love it.
We love it. We love the quotes. So there's so much that we are going to be getting into when it comes to that. This is a movie, I think, with a lot of nostalgia, like a lot of the movies we cover. So again, as you mentioned, but as a reminder for once at home, Seth, what is Grandma putting on for us to watch this visit?
The Iron Giant.
So if you have never seen this movie, this is your proper spoiler warning going forward. We're going to be talking at length, so consider yourself warned. Well, before we jump into this, let's get a little more backstory, a little more information about this movie and some film facts. So The Iron Giant was released back on August 6th, 1999. It was a 90s flick through and through. The budget was between 48 to 50 million, but the box office, 31.7 million, something I'm sure we're going to be touching on, how it didn't do as well at the box office. Looking around at some reviews, IMDb sits at an 8.1 out of 10. Rotten Tomatoes, 96%. Letterboxd, 4.3 out of 5. Currently, as of this recording, you can watch it on Amazon Prime with a special edition. So for the most part, you can't watch it for free on streaming. You'll probably have to dig up that old DVD that you own. It stars Vin Diesel, Eli Marienthal, Jennifer Aniston, Harry Connick Jr., and many more. It's in association with Warner Brothers Feature Animation. And we have to know, how is Grandma gonna rate this one?
Granny's family-friendly rating for Iron Giant is a B for animated violence, language, and smoking.
That's right. There's a few deep things going on here, some language, those types of things, but it's your typical animation back from the 90s. It was those types of things kind of sprinkled in, what you come to expect if you know those types of animated movies in the 90s. But we want to hear from you. Make sure you leave us a comment down below, your thoughts, your memories, all that good stuff. We love to hear from you, and we see you. Well, let's jump right into this. And again, as our special guest, we'd love to hear your thoughts, John. So again, 1999, this first came out. What are your first memories with The Iron Giant?
Oof. Yeah, going back quite a long way, this, isn't it? So I actually saw this one fairly close to its release when it came out. I don't think I saw it at the cinema. I used to work in a video shop around that time, actually, and I saw it then because I knew the reputation it had, so I kind of took it out one night. I'd have been about 18, 17 at the time. And to be honest, the first time I saw it, I was a little disappointed because I'd read the Ted Hughes book that it's based on. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that.
Okay.
That's called The Iron Man. I read that when I was at school. So when I was about maybe 9 or 10. So The Iron Man, that has in it a giant space dragon. that's like the size of Australia. It sits on Australia. So it's like this world-ending threat. And then the film just doesn't have that at all. So I was expecting that because it's quite a big part of the book. So I came out kind of thinking, what happened to the space dragon? That's a bit disappointing. But what did stick with me from that first viewing was the kind of overall feel, specifically around the climax, because it hits the beats on the climax like any film you could ever wish to see. The final shots of the giant flying up into space, Superman, all that kind of stuff. That image was lodged in my head and stayed there for a lot of years, because coming in to do this with you guys, I hadn't seen the Iron Giant for maybe 20 years, something like that. But there were certain images that stuck in my head, and one of them was that image of him flying up into space. So, yeah, those are my first memories. So I look forward to talking about how I feel about it now in a bit.
Yeah. We'll start there because that's a lot. Wow, that you got to see it when it first came out. And I'm glad you touched on the book because, this was a book that it was based off of in it. I would imagine if it had a dragon in it, that's a totally different movie altogether.
Yeah. Not just a dragon, a space dragon. It comes from outer, so it's an alien dragon, which is a bit weird. But and it's so big, it's so big it literally sits on Australia and covers Australia. That's how big it is.
Wow. I didn't know that. I knew it was based off the book, but I'm sure we'll talk more at length of your memories with that. But I got to hear from you, Seth. What was your first memories? Again, 1999, so many years ago this came out.
I was a big fan when it came out. I remember thinking how cool it was, and it was different. It had a different vibe to it than most animated pictures, and there was something about it that I remember it just stuck with me, and that vibe has always been there after all these years.
Nice. Yeah, this came out when I was probably middle school that time, and I want to say I saw it more at school. It was that, like, if you were good and your class did what they were supposed to, kind of. Again, we were kids, so they treat you like that. We'd put a movie on, and this seemed to make the rotation. And I think of more my classmates really, really liked this movie because I didn't see it in theaters when it came out. That was kind of the hearsay when they said, we're going to watch The Iron Giant. There was all that excitement built up. And I remember enjoying it at the time. I think, man, what would it have been like to see it on the big screen, though? I bet this would have been a lot of fun. So I didn't have those kind of memories, but I had some good memories. And kind of along with what John was saying, it had been a long time. I don't know if it had been 20 years, but it had been a while since I'd actually watched this from start to finish. Maybe bits and pieces here and there over the years, but it had been definitely some years since I was kind of excited to come back to this. But with that said, and knowing it's been years, I got to know, John, what was kind of your expectations then going back on the rewatch before you started watching it?
Well, the first time round, going back all those years, obviously I was expecting more or less a faithful adaptation. So when the dragon wasn't there and the whole thing shifted to being set in 50s America, because the book isn't set in 50s America, I did struggle with it a bit the first time, like I said, but the rewatches did turn me round. So going in now to watch it, I watched it a couple of times on Amazon Prime, like you mentioned, ahead of this episode. And I went in kind of knowing what to expect and hoping that it would live up to the expectations I had from when I watched it first time round, and it did. So the rewatches did turn me round. Once I kind of let go of the book and kind of put that behind me and watched the film for what it actually is, I realised that it is a fantastic animation, one of the best of its era, I think. So now when I sit down with it, I'm kind of there for comfort, I think would be a good word. Like the themes and the writing and just the craft of the whole thing, the storytelling craft. Brad Bird knows how to tell a story, and this is one of the best examples of him doing that, I think. I mean, the whole "you are who you choose to be," the quote I said at the start, that idea runs through loads of films, but this is one of the best examples of exploring that as a theme, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. That's awesome. So how about you, Seth? What were your expectations?
I can't follow that. I mean, that was perfect. So I was just hoping that it was as good as I remembered it was, because it had been quite a while since I saw it. And I remembered it had that really uniqueness to it. And I thought that as long as it holds up to what I remembered, it'll be a fun ride.
Nice. I had the expectation as normal. Like, I think some of my kids watched this, but not all of them. So just again, something that we can all enjoy. I remember thinking this was a fun movie. It has some, not adult, but a little more mature. Like, it's a little deeper at times. We'll get into it, I'm sure, with the heart. Like John was kind of talking about, there's some themes in there that is a positive message, but there's some, sad parts for sure. I can admit it's like it still tugs at my heartstrings to this day. So not enough that it's going to like scare the kids or anything like that. I didn't think there was anything that I recall, but that was kind of my expectation. Just have a good time with this one. Come back and revisit. Again, it was 1999. It has something about that, again, going back to school. That's the nostalgia I have with this movie. So I just wanted to go back and have a good time with it. Well, before we get to the plot rewind, let's pause just a moment to hear from our sponsors.
Hey, love movies as much as we do? Then bring the experience of the theater to your walls with movieposters.com. Whether you're into the classics, the blockbusters, or indie gems, they have something for every single film fanatic. As a listener of our podcast, you can save up to 15% on your order right now. Just use code Grandma's House at checkout. Head to movieposters.com and let's build your ultimate collection today.
All right, let's take the VHS out of the cupboard. Let's put it in the VCR and press play.
Here we find Hogarth, a young boy who stumbles upon a giant robot in the woods. They quickly become friends, and Hogarth soon has to protect the giant from Agent Kent Mansley, who wants nothing more than to destroy the giant robot. Will they win the day, or will the whole thing go up in flames? Find out as Granny puts on this animated classic from '99.
Very nice. Yes, this one just, again, I go back to the nostalgia of that time when I was in school. I really love the animation. There's just something about it. It makes it unique. And if you look at the back story of the buildup about the time this was made, it was kind of in that middle of CGI and traditional animation. Mm-hmm. And the Iron Giant has that CGI look, but then the rest is that traditional. And it blends so well. Even today, I was thinking to myself coming back to it, is it going to hold up? Are you going to see those kind of like flimsy looking CGI? But it was very few and far between. If there was, it just was so seamless. So that jumps out to me when I'm first watching this movie. It just has this really unique, you know it. As soon as you see it, that's the Iron Giant. It's not like this cookie cutter animation. But we got to start with you as our guest, John. What's kind of your first impressions when you first start watching the film?
That's a good question. I think tonally, it's doing quite a few things at once. And Brad Bird being kind of the master of this sort of genre that he is, I think he makes it look effortless. I always notice that when I watch this film. It is a family film. It's aimed primarily at kids, I think, but it doesn't shy away from some darker moments and some quite scary moments, I think, as well, and some quite adult themes. I think you can feel that Brad Bird knows the genre inside out. He knows it extremely well. He knows which films in this genre previously and the kind of stories that have stayed with us and with kids their whole lives. And I think that's what he's going for. He wanted to make a film that kids will watch when they're kids and still love when they get older because of how it made them feel when they were kids. So it's not just sugary stuff here with nothing underneath. I think he's making the kind of film he'd have wanted to grow up with, which is why it harks back to kind of his childhood with the setting and that kind of things. I think the animation itself holds up so well. It reminds me of Disney in some places. I think it's influenced by Disney, but the colour palette, all those blues and the kind of metallic of the giant, it's really bold, it's really striking. And the way the humans are drawn, it all quite unique, although there is a clear Disney influence, I think. And the giant himself, he's kind of a child as well, which I think is obviously intentional because Hogarth is kind of the adult of the relationship and the giant is kind of the child. I think that's kind of the trick. And I think Brad Bird's pulling from other classics of the genre. It's definitely got vibes of E.T., I think, going on here. So he knows all that kind of stuff works. I mean, the giant has almost no dialogue, no words, but the whole performance, and from Vin Diesel and in the animations, it's in his eyes and his heart and his compassion. I think the eyes do a lot of the emotional work, which works really well. And yeah, Hogarth reminds me of Elliot from E.T. quite a lot, which I think is probably intentional. But I like that Bird modelled it all on his own childhood because it rings very true and very authentic to the setting it's in. And I think that's because Brad Bird's first and foremost making a film for kind of himself as a child with the belief that if it works for him as a child, it'll work for lots of other children as well, which I think it did.
I agree with you. You nailed it. Like, that is exactly the feeling you get is you're going to enjoy it as a kid, but as you get older, I mean, that's how I feel. I mean, I'll just kind of come out and say I enjoyed it just watching it again. It was like, oh, yeah, I can really catch on to a lot of stuff I maybe missed the first time. But how about you, Seth? What are some first impressions you have?
Again, I can't follow that. That was so well said. The first impressions for me were, like you were saying, Isaac, the animation was very simple, but yet that style translates so well, as we've seen through all our podcast, that throughout the years, those translate better than the other ones. The simple animation seems to be more timeless and more, it doesn't age like the other ones do. The ones that are cutting edge, they tend to age quickly. And the more the simple the animation is, the more it seems to last longer, in my opinion. And then I just thought it was a really epic journey. The story was just told really well. It from start to finish, it goes up and down quite a bit, but yet it remains strong throughout. And I really appreciated that.
Yeah. That's another point, John. I really get vibes of E.T., of this creature that's trying to be hidden, and people's first reaction is fear. That's what you kind of expect. I mean, I know if I didn't recognize something, my first thought is, what is this thing? And it has that of E.T. The same thing in that movie is this little boy has this alien. Now it's replaced with a giant iron giant. I mean, how do you hide such a thing? But that's where the hilarity ensues of different parts where they're trying to stay hidden, and it's not so easy, especially since, like, whenever he walks, the earth shakes. I mean, he's this big hunk of metal. And I love that dynamic and the story of, he's eating food, other metal. That's how he operates. And he almost dies, supposedly, like from all the electrocution. You come to find out he can put himself back together. But it was really him who saved him, the boy. And that I love that just thought of, like you said, he's kind of like this child. He's learning the environment. And that's where I just really love that story, that dynamic. And then the ultimate sacrifice at the end, he recognizes that he, like you said, can choose who he is, because he, has this defense mechanism that kicks in, and he can be very dangerous. Just a really wonderful story. What did you think of the plot, the story kind of overall, John?
I think it's a fantastic story. I think you're right. I think it's very much taken from E.T. in lots of places. Another way to like E.T. is that the giant's being hunted by government officials in the same way E.T. is. E.T., you mentioned there, the giant sacrifices himself. E.T. does the same thing and then comes back to life at the end. The giant doesn't come back to life, but we get strong hints that he is coming back to life in the kind of final scene. But I think structurally, it's quite interesting because the film is pretty much kind of textbook 3-act structure, I think. But what stands out to me is how, which is unusual, how late Brad Bird reveals the fact that the giant is also a weapon. I think you'd normally get that information much earlier on, and then it becomes a problem in the third act. Yeah, we get definite hints of it, but not to the point where you know what's going on until kind of he becomes a weapon, and then he kind of lets loose in the third act. But what that means is the third act then becomes action-packed. So it kind of takes on a life of its own, which works really well. And going back to the book again, the setting is a really interesting change, I think, because Ted Hughes' book, it's not set in America at all. It's set in rural England. There's no like political backdrop or anything like that at all. But Brad Bird, who is a really strong writer, I think he saw the potential to use the giant in a different way, tapping into E.T., tapping into themes around the time set in 50s America, and he does a great job with it. I think he hits exactly the right beat in terms of depth around all that kind of stuff, because I think the best family films are aimed at everyone, essentially. And you might say they aim predominantly at children, but they still have to be aimed at the adults as well, the parents. Like Toy Story has jokes in there that only adults would get. So it's not just aimed at children. And I think this is the case here as well, because the themes it explores here, which children will have no knowledge of or interest in whatsoever. So that's therefore an older audience, I think. And the other thing I love as well, which you mentioned before, is the Superman kind of thread that goes through everything, because that's Brad Bird, the comic book fan, coming through. I know that he's a massive comic book fan. Obviously, he went on to make The Incredibles, didn't he? So that was his kind of love letter to, wearing a t-shirt. There you go. So it's kind of know where he's coming from, I think. Like Hogarth teaches the giant about Superman, and then the giant kind of becomes Superman. That's like the big payoff line. He references Superman. So that's another deeply personal thing, I think, to Brad Bird. And it's kind of the whole spine of the film. It's his whole arc. He becomes kind of Superman. And I know as well that Brad Bird was only given 9 months to make this, which is an insanely short time for animation. You normally get years. So to turn it around that fast is incredible. And to make it as coherent a story is just, you normally get about 4 years for an animation, something like that. And he was given 9 months, and it's almost flawless, I would say. So it's a remarkable piece of work, I think.
Yeah, I didn't know that. Wow. We've talked about some movies. Yeah. Sometimes they have a quick turnaround, but 9 months, that's not anything. And the quality, I go back to the animation. It takes place in a fictional town called Rockwell. I know we have trivia normally later, and Seth, stop me if that's a fun fact, but do you know why it was called Rockwell?
After Sam Rockwell? I don't know.
That's like the modern one, but there's a painter called Norman Rockwell.
Yes,
of course.
That's
Of course.
Yeah. And they loved his style, and you see that in the animation.
And Edward Hopper as well. They drew from that.
Yeah.
Now that you said that, it kind of the imagery went back. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Well,
So
Norman
I
Rockwell
love
is that classic 50s Americana style of imagery, isn't it? So that's where they're getting that from. Yeah, it's obvious now you say it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just really cool. Like you see, like you said, just Brad Bird had these, interests, and he really incorporated those. And the reason I thought of that, like, man, the art style just looks fantastic. And they had 9 months, and they made it look that good in 9 months. That's just incredible. To really think about the style of it. But I mean, you talk about this movie, you got to talk about the characters. There's so many characters that are kind of memorable in this one. And maybe that's just me. I'm gonna stop there, but maybe start with you, Seth, first. What did you think of the characters?
So I really enjoyed the voiceovers in this movie, especially Harry Connick Jr. I'm a big fan of his.
Yeah.
Vin Diesel did an amazing job with such little work to draw from, and as well as the rest of the cast was casted very well. And I'm kind of just blown away by there's dialogue in this movie, but the scenes that you think are going to have a lot of dialogue, they don't, and the scenes that you think are going to have little dialogue have a lot of dialogue, and it's very interesting. It's just a well told story, and they really casted well.
Yes, and characters play a big part in the story, like we talked about. Just this giant is, they're viewing him as a weapon, as a negative, like you're saying, John. But he's learning he can be his own. He gets to choose who he is. But what do you think of the characters, John? And like Seth brought out, I mean, there's a lot of voice talent here.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, the giant we've already touched on. It's all kind of in the eyes, I think, for me. Although Vin Diesel does bring a lot as well. I think Eli Marienthal is good as Hogarth. I've got a fact about him that I quite like behind the scenes, but I'll leave that for the trivia section if you've got that coming up. But he is very good.
Now, if you want, that's fine.
Yeah, go for it if you'd like to.
All right, okay. So I know that because obviously he was a child himself, and Brad Bird had him deliver when they were recording. Brad Bird had him deliver all of his lines really, really quickly because he thought that's how real kids talk, really fast. And you can feel that on the screen when you watch it with that in mind. Yeah, one of the feedback he kept having to give him was, say it faster, say it faster, say it faster, over and over again, until eventually he's talking like 90 miles an hour. But that's why he doesn't sound, I think, like a typical animated child. He has got quite a lot of personality. You mentioned Seth, Harry Connick Jr. I think he's great as Dean. Big, like warm performance. And he gets introduced in the first scene as well, so he's properly woven into the narrative rather than just kind of showing up. And Jennifer Aniston as Annie. I'd forgotten she was in it. I mean, I love Jennifer Aniston, like most people, obviously. So, and she was huge at that time as well, wasn't she? That was kind of peak era Friends. So that was quite a big coup for them, I think. But yeah, I think she's really good. And then there's Kent Mansley, who's kind of the bad guy, the antagonist. I mean, I can't stand the character. Obviously, that's the whole point. He's a really specific kind of antagonist because he's not just evil. He's paranoid and he's really dangerous and he tells lies about everything, which is kind of scary in a way. And the moment that gets me at the end where I think he's called General Hogarth, played by John Mahoney, he calls off the missile launch and Mansley grabs the walkie-talkie and orders it anyway. Like terrible behaviour. So I kind of hate him in that moment, but he's kind of that, and he's a kind of love to hate kind of character. He's played by Christopher McDonald. I think he's really good. So yeah, I think the characters are very good. It's quite interesting with Mansley as well because his kind of relationship with Hogarth is quite interesting because the military general is the reasonable one and the government bureaucrat is the more dangerous one. So it's a bit of a flip around doing that. You don't usually see it that way around, but it's all about the characters. I think that kind of narrative is character is narrative, and this is a perfect example of it because the characters develop, all of them get arcs, it seems like. So they're really well written and the performances are all really, really good.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I'm glad you touched on Christopher McDonald. He seems like a nice guy, but he's always the villain. It feels like I feel bad for him. He's always stuck in that role. He plays it so good. I mean, as much as like you're saying, he's this character that he just oozes, just terrible person. He also has a lot of the funny moments. One of my favorite parts is when Hogarth slips him the chocolate X-Lax and the rest of the movie, there's just that subtle, you're watching him like he goes behind a tree when he's out in the he's still filming it. I love that. I mean, he plays that role so well, and he's just constantly there whenever Hogarth is trying to leave the house. So the characters are great. Even the ones that you're like, I can't stand that guy. I mean, he's just, he gets under your skin. Like you said, he ends up being the reason that missile is fired, and the Iron Giant has to go and save. That's that big dramatic end. I mean, it still tugs at my heart about it, but maybe just throw it out to you guys. There's a lot to dive into. I love that you're touching on the Iron Giant. What else we went on to touch on?
There's a moment in there that I love. Maybe my favorite moment. It's kind of in the first act when Hogarth kind of knows the Iron Giant exists, but they're not friends yet, so he's trying to kind of lure him out, and he gets that huge slab of corrugated iron, and he kind of places it in the forest, and then he's got his camera, and he sort of falls asleep, and then he wakes up, and the corrugated iron's gone, so he knows the Iron Giant's been there, but he doesn't know where, and then he kind of appears behind him, and then when he looks around, there's this shot, which kind of pans up the whole height of the giant, and I think that's quite, as a child, that would be quite a scary moment. I think the way it's done is almost like a horror film in some ways, the way it reveals it. I mean, obviously, I don't feel scared now watching it. I'm a grown man. But I kind of feel how it might feel as a child, and it does present the Iron Giant at first as being scary, and that's really good. But then it very quickly becomes funny when Hogarth's trying to get the giant to stay, and he keeps saying, stay there, and he just keeps following him. That's really funny as well. And then he starts munching on the train tracks. That's really funny as well.
That's true. Like, this captures your sense of being a kid, just your imagination.
Yeah.
And like you said, that's why I kind of look back on it. Like, that's a bummer I didn't get to see this on the big screen. If I was a kid, that would have just been amazing, because at least I had, as a kid, imagination of like, what would it be like if I was a superhero or this or that? And think a big iron robot giant that you could command. I mean, it's just kind of giving you that imagination, yet it's set in this real world. It's not this fantasy like in another planet, this is normal. It's like, no, this is a kid kind of learning also, like, what is this thing? And I just love how it captures that so well. What about you, Seth? Anything else to touch on?
Okay, so the characters were great. I had a couple quotes and a scene or two I'd like to talk about real quick.
Sure.
The quotes aren't, I could skip that if we need be, but the first quote I was thinking of was real quick. You'll never catch up with him on foot, kid, which I thought was clever, because he's like trying to actually catch up with this giant, who's unbelievably tall. So I thought that was clever. And then I liked the line. I think it was Jennifer Aniston said, so he wants us to hold the mustard and the mayo. How about we hold the flavor all together? I like that scene. And then I wanted to bring out a couple quick little things here. So there's two scenes in particular I really enjoyed. The first one was when he was talking to the Iron Giant in the woods, and they did also the cannonball scene where the robot imitates Hogarth, causing the whole pond to drain. These two scenes, we see them bonding and forming a closeness, which is really necessary for the story to work. And it's endearing and amusing at the same time. And I really appreciated those. Yeah. Yes.
I'm glad you brought that scene out. That might be my other favorite scene, because I really like Dean's character. As much as we were talking about Kent, he was the opposite. He was more open to, even though this is a big robot, like, he was more open to it. He allowed him to be in his scrapyard. Mm-hmm. And I mean, go back to Harry Connick Jr. I love his way of capturing that character. I mean, he's yelling a lot, and the way he yells, I don't know, you feel that much, just no, don't do that. And all the yelling, all the like things that are happening, that scene you're talking about, he jumps into the, Hogarth gets in, he's like, come in, the water's fine. And so the Iron Giant jumps in, causes this tsunami, and he's sitting with like a lawn chair with a newspaper, and he just looks up and he sees the tsunami coming, and he just looks down. I don't know why, but that just cracks me up every time. It just captures his character so well. Of like, yes, he can overreact at times, but then other times he's like, what are you going to do?
He is a good character. I like the scene at Dean's place, when he's been left alone with the Iron Giant, and he's kind of an artist, isn't he, with all this metal art, and he says, no, some of the metal's scrap, some of it's art, and the Iron Giant can't tell which is which, and then he kind of drops it, messes around with it and drops it on the floor, and it's like, it looks like a tree, and Dean's like, hey, that's pretty good.
I love that line. Yes, I love his character. Just again, he's like, that's art. This is scrap. This is art,
and it all just looks the same.
I love that though. There's so many different characters in it. You can just come to appreciate it. If you like the Iron Giant, like you were talking about, as much as it's Vin Diesel with only a few lines, you hit it. Like his eyes, his mouth kind of goes down too, so he can't even smile. But by his eye movement, the way they animated that, you can tell when he's happy, when he's sad, when the other scene is the deer that gets killed, and that emotion from the Iron Giant, that's where you kind of, I feel like you really get invested in that character. You really see the dynamic of it. As much as this is still kind of unknown, you see it has emotion and it cares for others, and that relationship with Hogarth, he builds that, and he comes to learn civilization or things on Earth. So there's so much
kind
that
of learns,
doesn't
he? Because the Iron Giant kind of learns as he goes. That's when he learns about death. He doesn't really understand what death even is. And that's pretty big themes. So I think to get the most from this film, probably, you need to see it as a child and then kind of grow up with it. And then you'll get both sides of it. I didn't see it as a child. I wish I had. But I still think it's brilliant. But it's very much of a knowing how it must affect children. But I think if you see this as a child, you'll just fall in love with it. And then as you get older, it'll kind of age even better, I think. But I think speaking of Vin Diesel as well, because he does quite a lot with very little dialogue. I wonder how much of a play this film had on him getting the part of Groot in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, where he also has to do quite a lot with very little dialogue.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's kind of become a master of that between those two roles. Like, he's now known as just able to bring that intensity, but also the heart, the softer tones. As much as he's got that gravelly voice, he can, like you're saying, have so much emotion. It's not just this really emotionless tone. He's able to do that, and he's just become a master of it. Absolutely. Because of this, you can point to as the beginning. I agree. I think that's how he kind of got that role in Groot. I mean, you look at both those characters, like how do you imagine him without his voice? He kind of is those characters anymore. Any other things to touch on? Anything we might have missed? You guys feel free to jump in.
Got some fun facts. I got 5 quick fun facts.
Great.
But let's go for it. Let's get into the fun facts. I can't wait.
All right, so the first one, Brad Bird personally animated the scene where Hogarth rants fast to Dean about the problems after being given espresso. So Brad had to draw in between the frames because it was moving so quickly.
That is great.
What you can tell from this is that Brad Bird isn't just director of animation. I think you can tell he's probably got some animation skills himself, because I think you kind of got to make an animation this kind of good. He clearly understands the technical aspects and the storytelling aspects inside out. He's kind of a master of this genre, I think.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It might be a little bit of a fun fact, but what's interesting with Brad Bird is he did grow up drawing. I think every kid draws, but he got the attention of Disney because he toured it early on and got an internship. The problem was he was brought on right when Don Bluth left. That was about the time of Fox and the Hound. And so he came in kind of when a lot of those animators that he grew up admiring it had left. So he, I guess, got fired, let go after that, because he was like, this isn't the Disney I remember. And he progressed, and obviously things worked out for him where this was his first film. He went on to do other things like The Incredibles. But I mean, exactly what you're saying. You can see he was an animator at heart. As much as he was, in the director's role this time, he still got his hands a little bit in there in the animation. So that's cool.
Yeah. Well, he got let go from Disney. He also, after that, got let go from The Simpsons as well. He worked on there for a while, even though obviously he's very skilled, and then he went on to do 2 great things of his own. I wonder if maybe he had kind of too much of a unique vision of his own, because if you're working for Disney, you've got to work for Disney. If you're working for The Simpsons, you've got to work for The Simpsons. Obviously, they're not going to let you do what you want. So maybe that's what the problem was. I don't know.
Yeah, we never know, but it worked out, at least, thankfully. We got this film in at the end of the day.
The next one, I think John touched on it, but the film's name was changed from The Iron Man, which was the title of the book, to The Iron Giant, so as not to create confusion from the comic book character.
This is true. It's more known, especially today, but even before the movies and all that, Iron Man was kind of that big
book,
in the United States. So that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. But that was before Iron Man, the film, even came out, wasn't it? But I remember actually when I was a kid and I knew there was the Iron Man book and Iron Man, the Marvel character in the comics, I was confused as a kid. I kind of thought, are they the same thing? Are they different things? I was an idiot.
No. That's why they changed the name, because to not create confusion. Yeah.
Well, they didn't want to do that to
So the next one was Hogarth's father was a fighter pilot, which can be seen in the photo on his dresser. And they don't make mention of it any other time in the film.
Okay. I was wondering about that. I mean, it's a single parent situation and all that, but that's a nice little fun nod. If you're paying attention, you can pick up those little details. I like when they do that instead of just like, not that there's anything wrong with that, but sometimes it's thrown in your face. I like picking it out.
Yeah.
I like
nice
that.
detail. The idea, I guess, then is that he died during World War II. Is that the idea?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think I read that somewhere. I think you're right, spot on.
Time period where it's at. Yeah, it makes sense.
The next one I know you guys are going to love. So Peter Cullen, Sean Connery, Frank Welker, and James Earl Jones were all considered to voice the Giant.
Wow. My goodness.
Sean Connery. Well, you are who you choose to be. Imagine.
Yeah.
you just couldn't see anything else other than Sean Connery.
That would have been more funny to me. I'm glad. No offense to Sean Connery. He's a legend, but I would just be laughing the whole time. You stay here, little man.
Exactly.
I will go. Don't follow.
Yeah, exactly. Peter Cullen, he did the voice of the other effects for the Predator. I think he was quite a well-known voice actor at the time, I think.
Yeah.
Yes. And then the last one before the trivia question, this was Brad Bird's directorial debut. So this was a big deal for him, and he stepped up to the plate for sure. I mean, it's amazing.
It's amazing. Again, like as we were talking about, 9 months, and it actually had a budget when you compare it to like those Disney movies. This is 1999. So Disney was at its peak, like the Disney Renaissance. And 50 million was the budget. That's not much when you really look at what they were able to do with the animation, especially of the Iron Giant. But if you would have made that a trivia question, I had no idea. I would not have guessed the budget was 50 million, especially considering this was a box office flop, considering it's about 20 million loss there. It's still incredible just what they were able to do. And this was his debut. Imagine the stress. Like, it's your first movie you're making. You're only given 50 million to make it. I mean, that's crazy to think about when you put it all together, for sure.
And 9 months as well, which is like a quarter of the time you would normally get. I mean, he wouldn't have had much choice, would he? Because it would have just been like, either do it or don't. It's your first film. What's he going to do? We know he's got to do it. But some of the animations in there are stunning. The first shot, which I think is where you see we're in space and you see the kind of Iron Giant, is it a ship or the Iron Giant itself, kind of flying towards Earth. What a great shot that is. It's fantastic.
Yeah, that's a great shot. I'm glad you mentioned that one.
John, I don't want to step on your toes. If you have any more fun facts, go ahead and bring them out now, and then I'll do the fun fact trivia question. Do you have any more?
No, I'm all fun facted out. Thanks, Seth.
Okay. Our fun fact trivia question is this. Okay. So our fun fact trivia question is multiple choice this week. The Iron Giant only spoke a few amount of words. So how many words in total did the Iron Giant speak? A, 27, and both of you guys can answer. A, 27, B, 35, C, 43, or D, 53 words.
I was wondering if it'd be like this, but I'm going to let John have the honors to answer first as our guest.
That is tough. Did you say it was what, 27, 37, 43, 53?
27, 35, 43, or 53. But I mean, it's in that ballpark,
Yeah. I mean, it could be any, couldn't it? I didn't count. I don't know. I'd guess. I know that Arnold Schwarzenegger had, I think, 77 words in the Terminator, something like that.
Oh,
and
wow.
It seems like he hardly ever speaks. So if the Iron Giant's speaking even less, that's quite an achievement. I'd say 35.
Okay. I was going between two, and one is still not emerged. So I'm going to go with the next one. You said that was 47?
43.
40. I'm going to go with 43. I'm going to lock it in.
I hate to have stumped both of you, but it's 53 words.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Man. 50.
You wouldn't think, because like
No.
when I wrote this question, I read the fun fact, and then I wrote this question. I was like, it kind of seems like it could be even less. Like it could be like even like 10 or 12. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
One, Superman, that's all he says.
yeah.
Right. It's like the best, not the best, but it's the more well-known. This is a Superman.
Yeah, of course. I'm thinking though as well, is it set in 1953? I'm not sure if it is, but because if it is, that could be genius from Brad Bird, that.
Yeah. I mean, it's 50s for sure.
50s.
And there's that scene where he's showing them all the comic books. It kind of reminds me of like a 50s comic book era where he's showing Superman, and that's where that comes from.
Yeah.
And what was the name of the other one? Now I'm blanking. It's
Oh,
supposed to be the
I had
villain.
a fun fact on the comic books, and I didn't use it. I can't recall.
It's not Metallo. That doesn't sound right. It's something, but
It was popular back then, but I can't think of what it is now.
Metallo was a comic book character.
Yeah. So they used them, and I want to say that was back in the 50s. I could be wrong, but it matched so well on that. But unfortunately, I felt like I was being generous on my answer. I'm like, I think it's more, but I should just went for the max in that case.
I can't believe I stumped you guys. I thought for sure one of you would know it. For sure.
You got us. Good job there, Seth. You got us this time, but maybe next time we'll come back around on it. So. Okay, well, one thing we do like to do is just kind of look around the net. This, again, was a box office failure at the time, but it kind of feels like it's got some traction since then. So, Seth, what kind of reviews are you seeing out there?
The first review is from my favorite repeat offender. The Little Songbird said, outstanding on all levels, 10 out of 10.
Wow.
Lovely.
Outstanding. That is a good way to put it. That might be my opinion, but I would definitely use that word outstanding. What do you think, John?
Yeah, outstanding is a good word for it. I mean, it's a great story with a great narrative and a kind of timeless theme around being who you choose to be, as the film says. Cast is really strong, and the first but not the last of Brad Bird's like animated classics, so started his career down the right path as well. I think you can definitely see the seeds of things like The Incredibles and Ratatouille did in here as well. And obviously it's a family film, so lands for just about anyone, but I think every child should be introduced to this one. Get it on in schools, I think. Because like most great family classics, I think entertains and kind of educates in equal measure. So I think it's a great family film.
Yes.
So the next one, I hope I'm pronouncing this right. Kasugo says, a beautifully conceived and masterfully crafted animated movies that don't make them like this anymore. 10 out of 10.
Oh, another 10. Wow. I agree with that, though. They don't seem to make them like that anymore. I agree with that one.
Yeah, for sure.
I would say the animation is so timeless in the fact that it's you could watch this back in '99. You could watch it 10 years later, and it looks it still didn't age. Like it's you know what I mean. And like I was saying with the newer ones, it seems like the newer ones, the more complicated they make the animation, the more it ages quickly. So it's just well done.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely, you said it best.
Timeless is the word for it. Yeah, it's a good word.
Yeah.
And then lastly, the_writer 2004 said, a touching story of heroism and belief, 9 out of 10.
Okay. 9 out of 10. Still, those are high regards there. So what do you think of that, John?
Yeah, great scores. I'd like to know why the last one lost the mark. From 9 to 9 out of 10. Doesn't like Harry Connick Jr. Maybe, I don't know.
Maybe.
But no, I mean, yeah, I'm not surprised it's had high scores across the board. You kind of expect that, I think, for a film with this reputation, don't you?
Yeah. Like I said, it feels like as so much of the narrative is this was a box office failure. I do wish I did some research on like what the home media did, because I think it's gotten a lot of fans over the years. Like you were saying, Seth, a lot of it is probably the animation, but it's a well-told story too. And the voice acting, like we touched on, those are really the strengths of this movie for sure. But we also, I want to bring out, we are on Threads. So we do have a comment to add into the mix of a review. This is coming from DSully71. Said, I saw this opening weekend. Even though it was later on a Saturday, I think maybe 5 other people were in that theater. The film went on to become a massive box office failure, like we discussed, but I honestly couldn't care less. In that theater that Saturday, I was absolutely enchanted. I wasn't a child either. In 1999, I was 28. I simply found the marketing for the film so intriguing that I was compelled to go see it that first weekend. To this day, The Iron Giant remains my favorite animated feature. So love to hear those memories. That is just awesome. I'm like putting myself in that. I wasn't 28 at the time, but seeing it in the theater with only 5 people, I can kind of relate. Again, showing it was a box office failure, but to him, didn't matter. He was able to watch it on the big screen. So thank you so much for sharing that. Again, it was D-Sully on 71. And if you want to get on the fun, we try to put out ahead of time the movies we're going to cover. So if you want to possibly be featured on the podcast, make sure you're following us on Threads. Just a public service announcement in that way. Well, one last thing we like to get to before we get to our rating, we like to put this through the kid test. So I have 5 total kids, one being a newborn, but ages 10 and under. I have a 10-year-old, 8, 6, and a 3-year-old. Wow. And what we like to do is just see what their thoughts are, kind of gauges like what kids would think of it. My oldest 10, he gave it a watch it at grandma's. I think there was a lot of themes that just maybe he didn't get, but he still really liked it. He was chuckling and laughing throughout. The scene where he's trying to hide the Iron Giant's hand. By that point, the train had hit him and he's in pieces. And Kent is there and he goes into the bathroom and he's grunting and making noises. They're at that age for potty humor. So they were just laughing hysterical at that. There's so many other points they were laughing at.
I am still, to be honest.
Still funny. I love that scene. It's great. I was laughing right with them. Exactly. But my 8-year-old, he liked it a lot more. He's like, take it home. I love this movie. Nice. So he was one that was looking forward to when we talked about putting it on. This might be one of his favorites. I wish I would have asked him, like, is it in your ranking, maybe your top 3, but I wouldn't be surprised. And then the same for my 6-year-old. He said, take it home. He was laughing. He might have thought a few parts were intense, but I don't think it bothered him too badly. And the same goes for my 3-year-old. He gets distracted, but it didn't seem too out of touch for him, I guess. There was, like I said, I would just say, watch out for a little bit of language. There was a little bit more than you would probably expect in a kid's movie. There's deep theming of, again, like the weapon, like we talked about. There's the warfare, those types of things. But overall, the kids had a good time with it. Lots of fun, lots of humor, and there's good lessons to be learned, like we've been talking about as well. So I think this passes the kid test. That's in my experience for sure. Okay. Well, let's get down to it. This is the exciting part where we get to make it official. So we're going to start with you, John, as our special guest. I have to ask you the question. For the Iron Giant, how are you going to rate it? Are you going to take it home? Are you going to watch it at grandma's? Or are you going to hide it in the attic?
Oh, to take it home. For me, no question. I think it's just a fantastic example of animated storytelling. We've used the word timeless quite a lot, and it absolutely is that. It has a great story. It has timeless themes around being who you choose to be. Like I say, the cast is very good. Some big stars in there, some not so well-known people in there, but they all blend together really well to form a great dynamic, and they all bring that warmth that you kind of want from this kind of film. Brad Bird's first film, one of the great debuts, certainly one of the great animated debuts, I think, and then kind of set him down the path to a very successful career. He also directed Mission Impossible film, didn't he? Ghost Protocol. So it took him to all sorts of places. He did, yeah. So I think, it kind of, as family films do, the best family films, it works really well when you're a kid and then works really well in different ways when you're an adult. So it's like 2 films in one, really. But yeah, like I said, I think it's a good thing to introduce any child to this, and it's got that teaches you and entertains you in equal measure. It's very easy. Take it home for me.
Very nice. I liked all the comments that went along with it. Just, that's the best way to describe it. I don't know if I can put in, I'll try, but I'm going to put the pressure on Seth. What is going to be your final rating?
So honestly, this truly is a classic. The animation is timeless, like we spoke about. The storytelling for me was flawless, and the casting was superb. I have to take this home, and I am certainly grateful to watch it anytime.
Very nice. Yeah, I think this was an easy movie for us all to kind of have a universal. I'll just say it too. I mean, I'm taking this home. I own it, and I'm like thinking to myself, like, when people say this is their favorite or this is one of the best animated, I'm kind of like, yeah. I mean, it comes down to your opinion at the end of the day when you're putting your personal rankings, but I'm like, no, this is really well made. Just, I can't get over that when we're just talking about fun facts. 9 months, that just doesn't feel right to me. I'm like, there's no way. Like, there's got to be some contraption. You froze time and worked on this a lot longer or something. I don't know. It just, that racks my brain. It's just it's a beauty to look at. Like I said, it has that influence. Norman Rockwell, I didn't touch on as much, but growing up, my father he actually went to college. He did some art, and one of his favorites was Norman Rockwell. So I remember a lot of Norman Rockwell paintings being around. So that style just has always stuck with me. I mean, it's not Norman Rockwell, but you can see those influences. It's just, I can't get over the animation, just how much I enjoy this movie. We talked about the values again of, you are who you choose to be. That's just a good lesson, again, like you're talking about for kids. Some kids have different upbringings. They have different backgrounds, or they feel like, well, this relative or who brought me up, I'm going to be like them. If you know what's right, do the right thing. And that's what this really has a nice, just when you watch it from start to end, you feel good. Even though it's a sad ending, we talked about it. It's where a lot of people have talked about, they've even cried about, with the Iron Giant going and sacrificing us. It's such a touching scene. The soundtrack too. I don't know if we touched on the soundtrack very much either, but the soundtrack is great. I mean, I can't go on enough. It's just one of those complete movies. When I think of movies we've covered so far, this is almost like a complete film. You can just watch it anytime for sure. So, I mean, no surprise there, but that's going to be my rating. Can't go on enough how blown away I was. I'm with you. How well it holds up today, Seth. Like you said, the animation is a big part of that, though. Well, there it is, folks. We got another movie in the books. We had John help us out. We are so thankful and just a fun time. Had a blast having you on. But we like to give our guests the spotlight. So we want to turn it over to you. Where can people find and connect with you?
Yeah, well, thanks for having me. First of all, I've also enjoyed talking such a animated classic. Don't get to talk animations as much as I would like, half as much as I would like. So it's great to revisit this one. But yeah, if people are interested, they can find our podcast, All the Right Movies, wherever you get podcasts. We're available on all the major streaming platforms. We're also on the main social channels at All the Right Movies. Our biggest is on X, where we have almost 1 million followers, so you can check us out over there. And we have a book coming out this September. It's called All the Right Movies. The stories and secrets behind the making of 25 iconic films. Bit of a mouthful, but it covers kind of what it says. So we get into 25 big films across 5 genres with cast interviews, crew interviews, and tell the story of how those films were made. So if you're interested in kind of the behind the scenes stuff of how the biggest films in Hollywood were made, then check us out. So yeah, we've done some animated films as well. We've done Toy Story, we've done Roger Rabbit, a few others as well. So yeah, we're kind of all over the internet. You can't get rid of us, to be honest. So please do check us out. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, doing great stuff. You guys give like a big breakdown of the movie. So if you like those kind of podcasts, definitely go check them out. And that's exciting. Coming out with the book, you kind of piqued my interest of the movies you have in there. So that's awesome. Definitely check that out as well. And we got to tell everyone where they can find us. So Seth, where can people find and connect with us?
You can find us on YouTube, Threads, Facebook, and Instagram at Movies at Grandma's House, and on TikTok at LADX Media. Feel free to email us movie suggestions, memories, comments to movies@grandmashouse@gmail.com. We have a very excellent newsletter, so check that out, as well as a very new Patreon and exclusive content for loyal fans. And as always, we are brought to you by movieposters.com, so please use code Grandma's House, that's all one word, at checkout for up to 15% off.
All good stuff there. Yeah, make sure you check us out. You can really find us all over. I mean, we're pretty much on all the big platforms, but if you want to follow one thing, make sure you're on our newsletter, because that's where you can win a free movie poster. We do it once a month, courtesy of movieposters.com. Awesome people over there. So don't miss out, because once you're signed up, you're entered every month and it's free. So who doesn't love that? Well, again, we got to give you a big thank you, John. Thank you so much for coming on. This was so much fun. Welcome back anytime. I love to talk movies, so it goes hand in hand, right? We'll love to have you back on again. Thank you again so much.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I love to talk movies as well. So yeah, I'd love to come back. Thanks for having me, fellas. Had a great time also.
Awesome. Well, that's going to do it for our time at Grandma's House, but don't worry, we will be back soon. So in the meantime, remember to be kind and rewind. We'll see you next time.